Now, last time we just threw some code up. We didn't worry too much about comments or anything like that. For this one, let's put a few comments in. These are good practices. I'll call this a script, not a program. This script is going to just be hello world. Whoa, that's weird. All right, this is Renee. Yes. Hang on, let me check. Erin. Get in. Alan. Do you want to go to that STAR session at the Career Center? No. No, he's not going to go. No, he's not. He's going into the military. Thank you. Goodbye. Hope that was true. Make things up. He's wearing his military uniform. Okay, so this is going to be our Hello World script. People don't usually call during class, which I appreciate a lot because that's the kind of interruption that you're like, where was I? And I'm just going to put my name here. This Python script, we're not going to do much, but it's going to be super important. So we're going to, in our purpose, say we're going to use a for loop with hello world. I want to declare a variable just as a string, so I'll just name it string, and I'm going to set it equal to hello world. I'm kind of giving you a freebie on something that we'll do a little bit later in class. Now I want to print that out, so I'm going to print my string variable. And then I want to use a for loop. Now, whenever we use a for loop, we have some functions that we have to account for. Last time when we worked with our while loop, we said there were 3 things that we had to do to run a loop properly. First of all, we had to initialize a variable. And we could call this our loop control variable. And if you remember the one that we did last time, the Python script that we wrote last time in our while loops, let me bring that up real quick. In our first example that we have commented out, our loop control variable was this Boolean, right? So we initialized it by setting it to false. Then in our loop, we tested it. And then within our loop body, we updated it so that we could stop our loop. So we always have to do those 3 things when we have a loop. We have to initialize our loop control variable, test it, and update it. Now down here in this loop, we changed things a little bit. We made the number that our user was inputting be our loop control variable. We test it, and then we update it by letting the user change its value. So in both of these loops, we have all 3 of those things happening. So we have to accommodate those 3 things to control a loop in our for loop also. So first of all, we have to initialize a variable, our loop control variable. Then we have to test the variable. You know, does it meet the loop condition? And third, we have to update the variable to end the loop, right? Otherwise, we're going to have one of those infinite, not loop. We're going to have one of those infinite loops that never ever stops, which we don't like. So in our for loop, we're going to handle those 3 things just in a little bit different way. With our while loop, it was kind of easy to see those things happening. With the for loop, it's a little hidden. In this for loop, we want to look at each letter in our hello world string, and we can do that with our for loop very, very easily. So in our for loop, I'm going to say I want to create a variable named x. And I want variable X to be populated with all of the different values in my string variable. And each time that for loop executes or tests the condition, I want to print this value of X. So let's run this and you'll see what's happening here. Oops. I'm looking at old Python code that doesn't have parentheses for the print statement. Add that in. So when we print out our string, just as a string, we get hello world. When we use the for loop to look at each letter in our string, it splits it up for us and it gives us the first letter, the second letter, the third letter, the fourth letter, and our for loop will just automatically take care of that for us. So when we look at that loop in our code, our loop control variable is X. Python's going to take care of handling X for us. Now, when we're looking at this for loop, the testing of the condition is going to be applied because Python is going to update the X variable every time our loop executes again with the next letter in our string word. So all three of these things are taken care of, right? X is going to be our loop control variable, but string is going to give all of the letters to that to loop through. So let's try some others. Let's do one that's a little bit more of some numbers. I want to comment that out, just like we did last time. I'll put the 3 single quotes at the top of our code and 3 single quotes at the bottom. And then I'd like to do another for loop that uses a number. So in that hello world for loop, we let our string control our for loop, which was kind of neat. We didn't have to worry about doing a bunch of math type things. But what if we just want to use a for loop to do something a certain number of times? We can set up our for loop, and again, we can use a variable named X. We could use a variable named variable, whatever we wanted it to be. I'm going to keep X because it's short. And I want X to be set to all of these different values, all of the values in the range from 1 to 11. And just the same way, let's print all of those different values of X. Now we told our for loop that we wanted to use the range, quit it, 1 to 11. Notice it started at 1, the beginning number, but it ended with 10. So it ran while we were less than 11. So notice that ending number in our range statement of a for loop is 1 higher than what we're going to be given to execute with. So this is the range statement in a Python for loop. We say for this variable, run it through this range of values and execute the loop for each of those different values so that we can see what happens. So let's try something a little bit different then. I want to create a new file because this one's getting, don't want it to get too busy. So I'm going to save it and just create a new one. Let's save this new one as chapter 5 for loop with user input has that .py. So we're going to prompt our user for a number and use that in our for loop. In Canvas, the assignment that's due next Tuesday, the Sum of Squares program, I want to look at it because I want you to see how similar it's going to be to this example that we're going to do. So in your homework, you're going to ask a user for a number, and you're going to take that number as a top and uppermost limit, and you're going to use it to find the squared values of all of the integers from the number 1 up to that number that the user supplied. So we're going to make this example a little bit like that so that I can help you get started with that. So first of all, we need to ask our user for a number. Let's put some comments in. Okay, so we'll ask for a number, and then we'll set up our for loop to use that user number as our upper limit. So in the assignment, it says you're supposed to have this variable named my square. Let's name ours something else like my number. Now I have it starting with an uppercase letter, and that's not necessarily a good Python naming convention, but that's what it asks for in the assignment. So we'll do that. So we'll start out declaring our variable my number and set it to 0. After we've declared that variable, we can prompt the user for. Now, because we want it to be a number, we're going to convert it to an integer, and we're going to use whatever input we get from the user, and we're going to prompt them for enter the ending number. When I pressed enter, my cursor went to this weird spot. What's that telling me?
You did close your
parentheses. Good job. Okay, perfect. So now I'm asking for a number. And I can be pretty simple with this. I can say for some variable named x in the range from 1 to my number, I want to do something. Yeah, it tells you. So let's say we want to print some things out. One thing that you've seen in Code Academy, I hope that they still have it in there, that we haven't really talked about is parameter replacement on your output print statements. Let's throw a little bit of that in here. Let's say I want to print out the value is, and then I'm going to use a parameter, %d, to say this is where I want to print their number. Now, to replace that %d with the value of x, I have to use that % and say that I want to use my x variable as that replacement value. And if you looked at that in Code Academy, you should have seen that the %D, the reason we want to do that is because we can do some specific formatting to that number. If we wanted to make it formatted as currency or have a certain number of decimal places or something like that. So if you have a need for that, you'd want to Google, Python output formatting. Well, don't forget, you can find all that information pretty easy if it's something that you need. Now, let's see if ours works as I say that. Might have to do some Googling. Okay, so there's my prompt to enter that ending number. I'll make it be 6. And then my output is printing out the value is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So does that work? Pretty easy. I mean, we can just prompt for input and we can use that in our loop wherever we wanted to. What if we wanted to have them enter the starting number? Let's create another variable, start number equals 0. And we'll create a prompt for that. We could add to our output to be a little bit more meaningful. Instead of just printing the value, let's print something else too. How about we say the value is %D distance from starting number. And then we'll make our replacement be start number minus X. Now, if I want to use that start number in controlling my loop, I need to update my range statement to use that start number variable instead of the number 1. And then my range is going to be whatever my user entered in as the starting number and the ending number. Will it work? Oop, nope. Unexpected EOF, missing a parenthesis again. There it is. What is the starting number? I'll make it 5. And I'll make my ending number 10. So it's sort of working. We're getting a negative value. I could say, oh, go out there and figure out how to get rid of that. But I'll leave that for another day. So we're seeing that we can create some output and generate some things from our loop. Now let's add one more line of code down here and outdent it outside of our for loop and print this is after our loop body. So just like our if statement, our for loop body and our while loop body are all indented lines of code. And that level of indentation is controlling, how far, what something is under. That makes sense. Starts getting a little crazy if it starts getting pretty deep. Once we are not indenting anymore, we have ended that for loop. It's over. So if we run that, we should be able to enter our beginning number and our ending number. And see our message. Yes, sir?
I was going to say, by the way, if you swap the X and start number, it outputs a positive.
Well, that would be better. Let's do that. I like that better. So in your homework, you're going to have to calculate the square of the value, the X value as you're going through this loop to output. So you should be able to handle that. I'd like to update this though, and instead of printing out every values distance, I only want to print out the even ones. So I want to put an if statement in this for loop. So how could I set up an if statement so that I only print out the even numbered ones? I'd have to do some math, right? And I'd be looking at my value of X in this math problem. And what I'd want to know is, if I take the value of X and divide it by 2, do I get a remainder? If I get a remainder, it's an odd number. Right? If I don't get a remainder, it's even. So I could say, I'll use that modulus command. And remember, the modulus command does an integer division and returns to us as the answer the remainder. So if I use the variable X and I take a modulus 2 on it, if the result of that is 0, I have an even number. So I can indent my print statements so that now my for loop body begins with an if statement. The if statement is indented, so it's part of the for loop. Then the if statement body is indented under the if statement. Let's go ahead and put a print statement within our for loop before the if statement. We'll say that we're going to output a message saying that we're going to check to see if this is even. And then we can update this output. The value is even. We run it. So our output is a little scattered. I just want to give you some sample code to look at where you can tell where things are coming from as you look through it. Now let's copy this code and let's see if that website is working that lets us visualize our execution. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to search for that Python tutor. So I found the pythontutor.com website, and right now it's sitting on Python 3.6, which is the code that I want. So I'm going to paste my code in there and see if it will let me run it. Is it going to work today? I'll visualize it. Come on, yay. So I'm sitting here now ready to execute our code. I've got my number variable to declare. So if I click forward, I should see it get declared in memory here, and it's set to a value of 0. Now our start number variable gets declared and is set to a value of 0. Now I am here waiting for this prompt. I need to type my input number. I'll come over here and type it so I don't get everything messed up. I'll say, oh, 5. Now you can see it sort of flash because when it does that console input, it's a little bit weird. So now you saw that output prompt and my input to it, and our start number variable is now set to 5. I have a new prompt asking me for that ending number. I'll put in that value of 10 and submit it. And now we can see again in memory that our value is changed for our my number variable. Go back and forth here. So I'll click next or forward again. Now we're finally going into our for loop. Right now, notice we don't have an X variable. It's not allocated in memory. It will be allocated as part of our for loop. So there it is. X is now set to 5, which makes sense because that's our starting number. As we click forward, we'll see the print statement execute. We'll see our if statement execute. This very first one is not even, so we jump right back to our for loop. And if we click forward, we should see X set to 6. Print out our message. Check to see if it's an even value. It is, so this time we're going to execute those print statements. And then we'll jump back to our for loop again to update the value of X and test it to make sure it's still less than our ending number. It is. So we'll print out our message, check to see if it's even. It wasn't. So we're back to our for loop again. We're going to update X, print out our information, and we can continue watching our code execution to see how that for loop is executing until it gets done, and then finally we'll see that last message print out. Visualizing your code execute like this is just so valuable when you're using looping especially, because you can exactly see what lines of code are getting executed. So when we first start out, it's really valuable for us to see what our variable values are changing to. But as we start looping, it really shows us a lot what's going on with our code. Love it. So this is a great, great loop for us. Let's do one more. I want to save this file and open one more new one. We'll save this as chapter 5, nested for loop. Nested for loops. It's hard for you guys to get spring fever with this winter that keeps going on out there. Supposed to have students with all spring fever, not all winter cold still. We'll get it eventually. All right, so let's start this for loop. We're just going to do a really mean one, just so you can see what it's like. We're going to start out with an outer loop that is controlled by a variable named X. And we're going to run it in the range 1 through 11, which is going to give us 1 through 10, right, as actual values, because the 11 value will be exceeding our limit because it will no longer be greater than our number. Now, for every time we run this X loop, we'd like to run a Y loop. For our Y loop, we're going to do 1 through 11 also. So we're just going to write out a nice little multiplication table. So let's print it. We want to print out using some formatting. Let's do %D, a value, times, and that's the asterisk is just going to show up in our output because we're using it as a string value right now. And then we're going to say we want another formatted value with our %D, and we're going to print out the equal sign and a final formatted value. Now, what we want to replace those values with is going to be the first one we want to replace with our variable X. The second one we want to replace with our variable Y. The third one we want to replace with X times Y.
Another parenthesis number.
We do, thank you. Make it happy. Now, when this inner for loop ends, we're going to print out a message, but we'd like to make the user press enter or something to continue with the next set. So let's say we're going to read in nothing, but our input prompt is going to say done with inner loop, enter to continue. So we're just kind of faking it out with our input statement. Now with Python, our placement is really important here, because with this line of code, if I press tab and indented it over to this point, then it would be within this inner for loop. If I leave it where it is, it's within our outer for loop. If I outdented to where it was lined up with our outer for loop, it would be outside of all of our loops. So notice how just that little indentation can make a really big difference when and where our code is executing. So let's run this one the way we have it. Everything should be good. Okay, so first of all, the first time through, our outer loop, X, was set to 1. Then we went into our inner loop. So Y was set to 1, and we output. Y was set to 2, and we output. Y was set to 3, and we output. Finally, when Y got to 11, we were done with that inner loop, and our message displays.
It's giving me a error.
Okay, let's fix you. We'll fix it. Let's see.
How was it on?
What's it teaching?
Oh. How did it say that in the
Oh, it's this one right here. It's with the uppercase one.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one.
Short. That's what's missing. Now, as you execute, you should just be able to keep pressing enter and have it go on to the next number for our X outer loop. Do you see it? No problem. So let's copy that last line of code. And I want to put it backspace so that it's all the way even. And here we'll say done with outer loop. And we'll just say thank you or something because we're not going to continue at that point. Let's run that. Now, as we go through, again, we should see that every time we change the value of X, we run through our whole inner loop to change all of our values of Y. We go to our next value of X, go through all of our inner loop for our values of Y. And then we're done. Questions about that one? And save it. It's a good nested loop. Now, there are lots and lots and lots of ways that programmers have figured out to write loops to confuse each other. And there are lots and lots of capabilities that we have that we just can't possibly explore all of the different options. Let's go ahead and make our notes for the things that we've seen. We know that our for loop has the syntax for some variable in some list, right? So we saw that there were a couple of different ways we could handle that. We could have for X in string. I'm going to put my colon on there. And that would give us, give X all of the letters in string. We saw that we could do for X in range. And of course, 1 through 10 are optional. We can change those numbers to any number that we want. And that gives X all of the values from 1 to 1 less than 10. But Python, you can bet that some other people have figured out some ways to make things even more interesting. Any other entries that we should put there in our notes? I think those are a good start. So for our lab today, let's look at some terrible examples that I've found for you to look at. Actually, they're just really super interesting. Okay, I'll keep saying this over and over. Loop rules. You have to initialize a loop control variable. You can let the for loop do it for you, but you still have to have that happen. You have to set up the loop condition. You can do that in a range statement or in a condition in your while loop, but you have to have a condition. And then somehow you have to update that loop control variable to end your loop. So with our while loop, we saw that often we'll set up some sort of counter to control our loop, use it in our test condition, and then update it within our loop. Sometimes for a while loop, we need that capability because we don't know how many times we're going to need to do this loop, right? We might need to do it, while the sun is shining, while the light is red, while whatever status is going on. So our while loop is really important to use for those kind of situations. Now our for loop This is the actual syntax for iterating var in sequence. So that means for X in range 1 through 10 or whatever, we're going to do our loop statements. So our for loop takes that loop control variable and makes it part of the syntax. And it makes the condition be part of the syntax also. So we put everything all together. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to find a partner, not yet, because I'm going to show you how this is going to work first. You and your partner are going to be assigned a certain color of Post-it notes. Nobody else is going to have the same color, so you don't have to worry about putting your name or anything on the Post-it notes. You and your partner then are going to go around. We're going to put these big posters on the wall, and each of the posters is going to have a code snippet. And you're going to look at that code snippet and decide what the output would be from that code snippet. You're going to write that output on the back of the Post-it note, the sticky side, and then stick the Post-it note to the poster. So when we get done, our poster should look like this, where we have sticky notes from all the different teams on it, but we can't see people's answers because we don't want the next team cheating off your answer. Now, once we get done, we're going, okay, so, and then here's more information for you. You're going to go around to each poster. This shows like some sort of organized movement. That won't happen. Just move to a poster that you haven't done yet and get that one done. Move in a clockwise pattern. And just post it on whatever Post-it giant sheet you haven't done yet. When we get all done, we're going to grade all the posters and see how everybody did. And the reason we want to do it with the sticky notes is our graders are going to bring all of the right answers up here to the board. So if this team got a bunch of right answers, we'll see a bunch of their blue aqua Post-it notes in a line, and we'll know, they'll know. But nobody else has to feel bad about it because you don't know who did it, because you only know your color. So how should we split up into teams? Let's come up here into the middle. We have a few people missing today, which is a bummer. We've been doing good with attendance sometimes. 120 classes at 8 o'clock. You guys have been doing a great job with attendance. Let's just put it that way. It can be hard. Okay, so how should we line up? Let's line up. Let's do it like kindergarten. Let's line up alphabetically by your last name. So start with the A's up here and the B's up there, and we'll just split you up that way. 1, 2, 3. Come with us. Come with us. Alphabetical by your last name.
I think you're going to.
What's your last name? Nelson. Okay, you're best. So you see?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I count 14. So we should have 7 on each team. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so our 7 down here is going to go with the 6 team. Our 1s, come introduce yourselves to each other. 1, 1.
So wait, is it starting after me or on me?
You're going to be on that team with 6s. Our 2s, come say hi to each other. Our 3s, come say hi to each other. And I know we don't have a lot of room in between, so that's why I try to not just be a big mess. Where's our other 3? Where's our 3? Where's our 3? Are you 3? Okay, you 2 are together then. How we doing? You got 4, 5, and our 6s.
And then I was 7. So am I with them?
You're with them. Yeah. You want to go with them?
I think that was harder than computer programming.
Wasn't it hard? It always is. There's not enough room here, and I'm not very good at it because I'm not a PE teacher. Isn't it weird? I need to watch them like in action so I could be better at it. Okay, now we're going to have to do some setup here. So for each group, I'm going to ask you to come over to this little table, and I'm going to give you a giant Post-it note with one of our code snippets on it. And oh, wait, look, of course, there's no tape. Hang on. We're gonna have to staple, yeah. See if there's tape over here somewhere. Oh, I do have tape. Yep, it's too early. I didn't know if we would have time, and I thought, well, I'm not even gonna get it ready because yeah, that's what we need. But you guys would get too amped up. You get all amped up, and you'd be like, "Show us the code." We want to know. I had a girl like that last semester who was like, I can read the codes, but I can't write the codes. Okay. Come on over now. I think I'm finally ready. So here's our code snippet. Take this giant post-it note, stick it to our wall in here where we have green. There's you guys. Color. Now, one thing I didn't mention, you might need your phone to Google things in case there's stuff on here that you haven't seen. Sorry, what?
Okay.
I actually had some, and I just kept using it. 2 rows. Here you go. There's a post-it note color, and that one sticks on there. All right.
Where? Yeah.
That should be okay. All right.
Is there a pen button somewhere?
Just on your phone. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I learned it all the first day. I knew actually the first book and so I just used this one.
There's one up here, you guys, if you're ready to read.
Yeah, I think it's written.
No, I don't.
Don't close up. Make sure you keep moving around and stay away from everybody else.
You play the dust with the hardest one.
I'll tell you, the one at the door is really easy.
Can't wait to get there.
Start at that one if you're getting scratched.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be either this one. I think it's going to be like that, and then
There's one up there, there's open on the floor. Yeah.
I'm just going to finish up.
Yeah.
We're just going to do the Python first.
You guys are done, there's some back there, move around, keep
Oh,
going.
yeah, we're looking.
I know these guys look like you guys are all working on the same one, don't work on the same one, move around, there's plenty. Can't be all coconuts.
Or that. And this one has like a parentheses, or the single quotes, and then it has it even here after the colon. Oh, because you're right.
So you want to say what I'm curious
No, you can try it if you wanted to. One thing to remember is some of the examples you might use the old style print statements that don't have the parentheses. And single quotes and double quotes are exactly the same. So it shouldn't be any different if they're single quotes or double quotes. Like I said, some of the code samples are just different than what we've been using.
This is what I can
Make me nervous. You guys sit behind me.
I'm here with you. Sorry. Can I go down this way?
Kind of weird question, but should we be assuming that all these are in the current version of Python?
No, because some are in that older version. So just go with it. Don't worry about syntax errors. If you're typing in the code, you might have to change it a little bit. You put your parentheses. Should just be those print statements. Make you guys be so flexible with your different versions.
What did you do?
Roll my soccer. I can't assure.
I've got a. Don't worry.
Oh, you did it in the race.
You just keep getting better.
I know.
Is this how we do that? Did they get that?
That was so. I used to pick up the box sheet to a piece of paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it might be the box. No quality. No quality of craftsmanship.
Boy, this hot pink group is making some serious progress.
Not good.
You guys need to try some on the computer. Most people are trying some. I think I have some idea. I didn't let people do it before, but I just don't forget to put your answer on the back so people can't copy it, guys. Orange group. Put your answer on the back so they can't copy it. Those others, even cheaters. We don't have any in here.
So, oh, yeah, that's right. It's until it hits. Yeah.
Nope, they're even not green.
I guess
No.
Yeah.
Not an option.
There you go.
So it is just like.
We're going around looking at all of these if statements. Let's see if these two are acting like they need help. If you want to join them, because I said how they were making great progress, and they said it was bad progress. So jump on their team, and they'll tell you what we're doing.
Yeah, like different. Sorry. I was
Got
gonna
it.
try all of these and then put our answers on the except for like, we don't know what's going on.
You're such a planner.
And I think this is I don't know if I'm doing, but we'll find out. Yeah. Comment about I don't really know. We're just freaking a lot.
This is just strange.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
You should have wrote
Like an infinity.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I should have split you two up. I shouldn't have split you two stay together. I should have known you were going to be too fast.
There's a week 11 lab.
It's one that we'll do in class like this.
I won't be here.
Oh, okay, so take a look at it.
It's not open yet.
Oh, okay, when you can. It's a name generator, so you're going to prompt for the name, and then you're going to prompt for a character to use as a border, to like display a border around the name. So it should come open Monday. Take a look and see. I don't think you'll have any trouble with it while doing it on your own. It'll be a team thing here.
I'm not sure. Do Thursday night. I'm not sure. I don't have any
Oh,
available
yeah.
time until 2 weeks.
Don't worry about it, because I won't count you late if you turn it in by that next Tuesday. So
I
just
don't know
plan
if we'll
on
get it by
it.
then.
Okay.
I'm going to be busy for 2 weeks now.
Well, take a look at it before you go. Are you going to be around? Or when are you
I leave Wednesday night.
I know you'll be busy getting ready.
Tuesday during class I'll be like available. I start my substitute teaching tomorrow, and I have this after Monday as well. So.
Okay. Well, just let me know Tuesday if you have a chance. We can look at it, and otherwise we'll just have to go with the flow and see how your schedule is working. Because I know you won't have any trouble getting it done when you have a chance. Was he just cheating? Did you see that? Did you see that? I swear to God, I swear he looked underneath that, and they could have be real dummies. So bad. Type the code. It's 3 lines. Type it. Oh, it's a mean one. I see what your problem is. I'm just giving you guys a hard time.
I don't know if you're on social media, but have you seen that girl that talks like Siri?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh.
What is she,
She,
spooky?
she can like make her voice sound just like Siri.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy.
Is she scary?
No, it's not, like, okay, it's kind of scary.
She can make somebody do something they didn't want to.
I think it's gonna more on.
Fixing the code to
No, you're supposed to be writing down what the code outputs.
So if it's has a syntax error, just
It doesn't have a syntax error. There aren't any with syntax errors. There's just different versions of Python.
different versions.
Right.
Won't ever do that again.
I wonder if
Surprised they weren't. So we're not writing anything out, but we need that. Like, if I ran this program, what is it going to show me?
I don't know. It's, so let's look at all the calculation. X times Y. I don't know how to write that. Oh.
Just to be sure, so are some of these written like an older version of Python? So like that concept says 4x and x range. Is that just the same thing as saying 4x in range?
Yeah, and you can look it up. That's why I said you might need your phone to see, because it's actually kind of really important knowledge to see that they got rid of the x range and it is the same as the range, but you'll run into it all over the place.
So
But yeah, it's just the earlier release of Python.
So when it says x range, is that like a separate statement, or is that like just putting the variable together with range?
It's just doing the same exact thing that we did with range. It's just that they used to have that X on it, but I don't. Yeah, so it does the same thing. It's just annoyingly a little teeny bit different.
Yeah, that's what we figured.
Yeah, no, you're on it.
Oh my God. I'm taking what you love with it.
Hi, teacher.
Yes, sir.
Just chilling out.
Just chill. I'm glad you're feeling better. So what are you eating?
What am I eating?
Nothing.
Nothing now.
That's why I thought you were feeling better. I figured.
You think I eat something else?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just quit that eating
Yeah, I
because
know,
it's
right?
making you sick.
Stop trying to survive the addiction.
I know because I sent you that email like, feed you butter safe. I'm like, you know, I don't even care if he thinks I'm freaking crazy. I've been throwing up because of Aquafina so many times.
Really?
And I'll tell you, the water will make you throw up.
Oh my.
Because they all use bone char filters, filtration systems for their
Oh.
water. And so once you get to that level of being so sick, all the stuff that's filtered by bone char will start making you really sick, like
Yeah.
granulated sugar
Yeah.
and water.
That's
Water out of your refrigerator, because the refrigerator filter is a bone char filter in your refrigerator.
you gotta watch out for everything. I mean,
It's like we got the new refrigerator indoor, and I was like, I can't even use the water. So
Yeah.
I haven't yet. But
no. I don't know. It was crazy because like the first time I ended up in there, I was just cooking general chicken.
oh, and so it should have been okay.
Yeah, but
so what was the problem?
it had meat fat in it.
In the chicken?
Yeah.
So it was injected chicken?
Yeah.
Had you gotten it at Walmart or something? Or?
Yeah, it was like the frozen section.
Mhm.
So like you make the chicken and it comes with, the sauce you put on top of
Oh,
it.
it was the kit deal.
And
I
then
see.
and then I bake the rice on the side.
And we've just can't write anything like that. Just like, oh, too easy.
I know, so
Can't
now I
have
gotta
it.
read everything. Like I gotta stare at it for a minute and just make
So
sure.
specific. It's
So
annoying.
bad. But then like I go and eat, the turkey dogs, which are actually really good. They taste just like hot dogs.
Really? Where
Yeah.
are those?
They're at Walmart. You can get turkey franks.
I haven't gotten that brave. I guess I've thrown it so many times. I'm super careful about everything.
Sam's Club has a lot of things too.
I mean, we finally got to the point where there for a while, I think I was eating like 3 things.
Yeah.
And we would buy this one
Basically-
certain kind of chicken. and we would
basically.
eat, and that's it.
I can't I go to the gym a lot. I can't use the protein, the workout stuff, because that's got a.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's protein from a cow.
Well, like one that was really getting me for a long time that I didn't realize. I think they've gotten a lot better now about telling people. But like I took a lot of vitamins and supplements and stuff, and like D3 is totally sheep sweat lanolin.
Yeah.
It's just, and so any cereal, like I would think, well, just give me some Cheerios. Surely I can handle some Cheerios. Sick as a dog because they're injected with D3.
Yeah.
Anything that's got vitamins in it, it just makes me sick as a dog.
It's awful.
I seem to be really sensitive to the lanolin thing and to bone char stuff.
Yeah.
Like some other stuff, not so much, but I mean, I know different people.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to figure out that I'm also really allergic to coconut from it. And
Oh,
a lot
really?
of the substitute stuff is coconut.
Yeah.
And so I was still getting sick.
Yeah. I'm allergic to tree nuts too. So
Oh, no.
I'll go into anaphylactic shock off
Oh,
those.
no. So what are you eating? Nothing.
Nothing, literally.
So are chickpeas tree nuts?
Do what?
Are chickpeas tree nuts?
I don't think so.
Have you gotten the Ripple milk? It's chickpea milk. They have it at Target.
I usually drink soy milk.
Is that
Soy
okay? Can you
milk,
drink it?
works. Well, you know what's crazy? I can eat dairy.
Oh, you're okay with dairy
Yeah,
stuff?
but like if I eat a burger, man, I'll die.
Yeah. So it just gets that way. So see, I can have dairy as long as it doesn't have a lot of like super enriched with D3 and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's where I
So
get
you
the
get like a
problem.
low
I think.
percent,
Mhm,
probably.
mhm, then I'm okay. So like I can have a coffee without any problem. But if I eat something that has butter in it because they D3.
Yep.
So it's weird. I hope you figure out more
Some
stuff.
random thing.
One that's been really helpful for us the last month or two is we've just been making our own cashew chicken and general chicken and making it safe, ourselves. And so
Yeah.
that's been because I really like general chicken and I really like cashew chicken.
Yeah,
So that's so because I was feeling pretty put out.
Yeah.
that I couldn't have
I like
any
orange
food.
chicken. I actually had orange chicken the other day. We got to the hospital, and I enjoyed that. Nothing
Was it
happened.
okay? So
Yeah.
where did you go?
It's the same brand of
But
the
it was
general chicken I
okay.
had.
For some reason,
I
just
bet
didn't
you the
put
general
stuff in
chicken
it.
probably had that
The
meat
breading.
fat in it just because it's spicier chicken or something like that.
Sometimes you just can't even tell where in the world why in the world they would put it in.
I mean, I was just a quarter way through eating it. I remember my lips started getting itchy, and then I woke up because my throat closed up and I couldn't breathe. I didn't remember it, but my roommate was shaking me and everything. I didn't have an EpiPen, so they drove me to the hospital really fast and everything like that.
So why did is he in the same room?
Yeah, I had 3 roommates. We all
Oh, thank
moved out,
goodness.
and nobody was home but me. I was sitting there eating. Thank God somebody came home.
No kidding.
They shook me in. So I have EpiPens, but they're at my parents' house. And they were at me.
Thank you. Yeah, you need to get them.
It was crazy.
I'm so glad you're okay and you're
I'm
finding
lucky
stuff
to be
to
alive.
eat. No kidding.
Nobody
You are
would've came
super
home, man.
lucky. One that killed me was I wanted cake really bad. I don't eat that much sweets, but I thought I could have white cake with white frosting. That should be safe. I went to Harder House and you have to ask them for it. They keep all the cake back in this cooler. And she brought out this cake and my husband was like, that is such a boring cake. And I set it in the cart and was rolling off. The second ingredient was beef fat. And I just almost started crying. I was just like, here, just take it.
Why in a cake?
And a white cake with white frosting. And I'm like, no,
I just
that
don't
can't
get it
be.
sometimes.
At least they listed it.
Like a chicken meal. They have beef fat in a chicken meal. It's just
I know, it's so frustrating.
I wish I could cook my own things.
What? That's all we've been doing, and my husband's been really good about it.
Yeah.
As far as cooking. So
I know how to
anyway.
make this chicken and rice. I forgot what kind it's called. It's like country style or whatever, but you take a bell pepper, just slice that up, and you get oh man, what's it called? Mushrooms. Oh, cream of mushroom, and then a can of cream of soup, and then canned chicken, and you just all put it in there, and you just kind of
Remember, all Campbell
cook it
soup
up.
has beef fat in it.
Do what?
All Campbell soup has beef fat in it.
Does it really?
So be super careful.
Holy crap.
Yeah, you have to get the Progresso or their special version one. So that natural flavor that's in Campbell's soup is all beef fat. Don't eat any of it.
I always eat chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup because you're sick, and you'll stay sick.
I'll end up in the hospital again.
Darn it. It's like, can I even have chicken noodle soup?
My mom was she's almost killing me because of how many hospital bills we're gonna have and everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I can't help it.
No, there's
after that
nothing you
one
can do.
reaction, the next day my face swelled up shut, and then the next day after that I couldn't breathe again, and then I broke out in hives.
Oh my gosh.
Fun time.
Be careful. Just don't eat it.
Yeah,
Just don't
so
eat
I'm done eating.
Don't eat it.
I'll see you.
Okay, you guys, let's do the answers to these next time, because I don't want to rush through. If you're all done with all of them, get out of here. Double check, make sure your color isn't missing off any. Remember what color you had, so that when we check next time, you can pat yourself on the back for doing a great job. And bring your Post-it notes up here for me before you run off, so I can keep them. And I will see you next week, and we'll look at all the answers. That's why I made you look at it, because other people's code is ugly. Your own code's always better to look at.
So, what cocktails those chapter questions is?
that pretty much program.
Okay. And I'm still able to turn those in.
You should be able to,
Okay.
you might have to email me. on that.
And if it won't let me, then I'll just email you with the file attached.
Okay, that'll work. I see what happens with each one, 'cause I think with those, once you submit it, it'll be, in that cloud spreadsheet. I just won't go and look at
Okay.
it.
All right. I appreciate it. I'll get
Problem,
those.
we'll get you situated, try to keep you out of the hospital for a few weeks. Don't, change all your shampoo and everything.
The shampoos.
Make sure you let me get.
Yeah, I Dove is pretty good.
That's loaded with mayo.
Is it really?
Yes, don't use Dove.
I got this.
L'Oreal, that fruit cheese, it's like vegan.
Oh, that's, I have that from here. So yeah.
Stay away from that stuff. All the stuff you think is okay.
It's
Like,
not.
it's simple, it's like, yeah, it's simple, it's made out of beef fat and one other ingredient. It's simple.
Yeah, chicken's all right. No, it's not.
You can't have that.
It just can't be chicken anymore.
Not that chicken.
What did I miss?
We did a couple of programs looking at for loops. Let's see. I'll post the Zoom session. Don't watch it till the end because I hadn't ended it yet. And now last one,
Oh, so it's just like a bunch of like
us talking, yeah.